Welcome to the Owners Odyssey, navigating the greatest journey of your life.
Hello and welcome to the Owners Odyssey, navigating the greatest journey of your life. My name is Kevin Rosenquist and I'll be guiding the conversation with Jeff Redmon, a seasoned business attorney and savvy business advisor who's negotiated hundreds of business sales from small private deals to high-stakes transactions against some of the world's largest law firms. Today, we're talking about the high-stakes moment every owner faces, selling your business. Jeff, welcome.
Kevin, thanks. I'm really excited to be here. I'm hoping we can share some insights that speak to my clients, business owners. Selling your business is unlike anything else an owner ever will do. It's often their largest financial asset and deeply tied to their identity. That's why I call it the high stakes moment.
Good call on the tied to your identity thing. I think that's something people don't really think about. But when you're a business owner, it's your baby. All right, well, let's start with some basics. Why is selling a business so different from other big decisions that an owner might make?
You know, business owners handle um, things all the time. They're looking at hiring people, opening an office, launching another product, negotiating a loan, but they only sell their business once. There's no do-overs. For most owners, it's the accumulation of 10, 20, even 30 years of work. It's their largest asset. It's a chance for financial security. It's their legacy. For most, the sale of their business is their largest single asset. That combination of money, identity, and the finality makes this unlike anything else they'll ever face.
So when you've worked with owners, what mistakes do you see them make when they approach this pivotal moment?
You know, I see four big pitfalls. The biggest one, someday never comes. I don't know how many owners I've heard, I plan to sell in 5 years, and I've heard them say that for 10. There's no perfect time, but I really encourage them to pick a date and work towards maximizing value towards that end. If they aren't ready at that point, then set another date, but don't just say, I'm going to sell sometime. And then the other one is, it's just another deal. No, it's the deal. Mm-hmm. They've negotiated hundreds of contracts, but selling your business isn't routine. It's the defining transaction of their life. The other pitfall that I see is buyers pay for tomorrow, not just yesterday. Numbers matter, but that's not enough. The real premium comes from a compelling growth story, not just past profits. The other unfortunate revelation is the wrong buyer is the most expensive mistake they'll ever make. Not all buyers are equal. The strategic can pay far more, but only if you've done your homework and positioned your business right for sale. I helped a client sell his business for 6 times EBITDA when the market was trending at about 4 times EBITDA. That's a 50% premium. How? He had super clean financials, well-documented procedures, and a safety record that was 10 times better than the industry average. That preparation was not just paperwork. It was worth millions.
Wow.
And here's the kicker. What often owners see as their biggest strength, like, we've got this one amazing customer, buyers often see as your biggest risk, customer concentration. That's why you have to step outside of your own lens and see your company the way a buyer sees it.
Yeah, not easier said than done sometimes, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You've gone head to head with some of the biggest law firms in the world. Tell us about that. What edge owners can have, even if they don't feel like they're playing at that same level.
Well, I too was a partner in a big fancy law firm, but I really hold myself out as just a simple country lawyer. And I take advantage of that when the other big law firms see my website and they see, we just got 2 lawyers. But the last transaction I did is a good example. It was an international buyer that hired literally one of the largest law firms in the world. During one call, it was a Zoom call, I faced 12 lawyers across the video call. Despite their massive legal team, I mean, they had a lawyer that analyzed every little detail, but they had a very small executive team that was leading the discussions with my client. So we dealt with them on a very personal level, not allowing the lawyers to bully us as the small guy. We not only held our ground, we closed at a very strong multiple. And the edge wasn't size, it was preparation, strategy, experience, knowing how to frame the business story. That's what owners can do. And that's how you win the high stakes moment. It was kind of funny. This is a long-term client, represented her for 20 years. She said, "Jeff, I knew you were a good attorney, but I didn't realize you were a badass lawyer." And, we had to stand our ground on several fronts, and we did it. And that's where I said, just let me take this. And, there are a few times that she would have probably capitulated. And I said, no, this is one that I think you should fight for. So not all sellers face the big fancy law firms. What I hope for personally is an experienced deal lawyer on the other side, someone that's seen deals, they know solutions to obstacles. I don't have to educate them on what standard practices are. No matter who is representing the buyer, you have to deal with it to get the best deal you can for your client and ultimately protect the seller, your client, from the post-closing liabilities.
What happens when you deal with a lawyer on the other side who's not really good with the deals, like you said, who's not experienced in all that? What kind of struggles does that provide, or what does that make? What kind of difficulties do you run into?
Well, I'm working with one right now that the prerogative in the business world is that the buyer gets to draft the purchase agreement. Well, this seller and his lawyer, they see it just as an expense. I always want to control the document. If asked, I will do it. But so I said, hey, it's your prerogative. You draft the purchase agreement. Well, they didn't get it. They didn't get it. Finally, the broker involved said, what's going on? Well, my lawyer says that the seller is responsible for doing the purchase agreement. Like, oh, goodness. Oh, certainly, we'll get it done. The next day they had a purchase agreement. But those are the sorts of things. His lawyer just hasn't done enough deals to kind of know the dance, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, they're not a badass lawyer. That's the thing.
That's a secret. I don't want anybody to think that when they come up against me.
Okay, that's true. Okay, well, we did put it in the podcast, so.
Well, it's going to be listened by business owners, not opposing counsel. Hopefully.
True enough. What are some practical steps that listeners can take, immediately this week, this month, to get ready for this big moment, this selling moment?
Well, in future podcasts, we'll get into more detail, but just from the beginning, to tilt the odds in your favor, clean up your financials so they're clear and defensible. If you have a wart, identify it. If you can clean it up, great. But the last thing you want is a buyer to discover some flaw in your financials and they just hammer you with that. Because if that's a mess, what else is going to be a mess. Same thing with your contracts. Clean them up. Clean up your corporate records so that they're organized, and all of your big vendors, all of your big clients, you have their contracts in order. And I always tell people, the more it looks like an organized book, I literally call it the book. The more it looks like a book, they say, oh, this is super well organized. I don't have to look as detailed. That's kind of the impression that I see sellers in due diligence. Like, if it's a hot mess, then they're going to be worried about it and look quite a bit deeper. You want the buyer's due diligence to go smoothly. Any glitch starts that buyer asking more and more questions. So with me, with a broker, if you have one, with your accountant, start figuring out what the due diligence a buyer might be looking for, and let's be prepared with a very clear, responsive answer. The other thing, clients see the value of their business to them, but start thinking about the value proposition you want a buyer to believe about your business. And that's where you really have to step in the shoes of buyers and what they're looking for, not what you're trying to sell. And then the last thing, just to kind of wrap it up, what the heck you want to do after you sell the business? Start writing down what you want your life to look like. Are you going to start another business? Are you going to play golf? It's a transformation, so you need to be prepared for it. And a lot of clients just aren't equipped, and they aren't ready because they've spent their whole life working in this business. And given what I call the damn dailies, all the things that happen every day, they keep you busy. And it's not easy to start looking at these things, but it's really mission critical if you want to get the very best exit possible. And the best exit isn't always just price. It might be taking care of your people. It might be taking care of a family legacy. We want to think about those things. And that extra work can really make a difference between walking away with an average deal or positioning yourself for a life-changing premium.
Jeff, what have you seen from an emotional standpoint that owners face during such a high stakes moment like this?
Yeah, every owner handles it a bit different. For some, they can't sleep. They want answers that aren't available. They want to micromanage things that they don't get to control. The sales process is a story for which there is no script. And rarely is it a straight line to closing. There's ups and downs. I ask clients not to get too committed to a particular outcome. They have to trust the process. And when we get the very best deal we can get, that's when you have to decide, is this good enough? Am I prepared to close?
Yeah, I've heard that before. People don't know what to do with themselves because they've been doing this for so long and for so many hours of every day, like you said, the damn dailies, that they don't know what to do. So they're like frozen. Yeah. That's a good tip.
Yeah.
That's a good tip for sure. Well, this has been a powerful discussion. This is really cool. I think it's really neat what you do and how you help people and all that. Do you have any final words for business owners listening who might be facing this decision or considering this decision?
You know, you have to prepare yourself that selling your business is the deal of your life.
Mm-hmm.
Don't wait until you're at the table to start thinking about stuff. By then, it's way too late. Start preparing, positioning, own your story. That's how we will make your biggest deal your best deal.
I like that. Perfectly said. All right. Well, thanks, Jeff. And thank you to our listeners. Be sure to subscribe to the Owners Odyssey so you don't miss the next episodes. If you don't think multiples matter, you might be leaving millions on the table. Next time we'll dig into multiples matter, unlocking above average value, why some owners get 5x and others get 10x or more. Don't forget to download Jeff's free checklist, top 5 questions to ask before you sell, at redmonlaw.com. Until next time, Jeff, great having you here. Looking forward to continuing more episodes.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.